Alright guys, so welcome to part 2. I had to do this in 2 parts because my SD card that I filmed the last part on got full up, and I don't know how to combine data from 2 SD cards into one video. But I haven't touched the engine, so we're starting today in this part where you left me in the last part. So like I said before, we're going to start by taking off the rockers, and then we'll remove the push rods, zip out all the head bolts, and peel the head off. I imagine that head gasket there is going to put up a little bit of a fight when I'm trying to pull this apart, but we'll get it off. So I'm not going to bore you with a big old long intro in this one, so we're just going to get right to it. Alright, so it's all loosened up. Let's take the head off. So here's that. There's a lot of burnt oil in here. I think it's a good deal that my kit comes with new piston heads, so new pistons, just so that I don't have to clean these ones up. But that ridge there where the piston stops, oh, maybe that's not, yeah, that's not too bad. That's maybe 1/1000th. So that was one of my main worries about this engine, was that the lip here would be real gnarly. And my other worry, which we'll only figure out once I start measuring, is if the cylinders are cone shaped, meaning that they're wider at the bottom than they are at the top, from the rings kind of expanding and contracting as they move up and down. Sometimes your cylinders can get cone shaped, and if that happens, then you have to get them bored out, and it's just kind of a bad deal. So we'll figure that out when I start measuring anyway. Alright, so the head is off. I got it set up behind me here, as you can see. Next thing we got to do is remove the lifters. Now, if you don't know what a lifter is, it's a metal cylinder that rides on top of your camshaft, and it's a part of your valve system. So as it rides on top of the camshaft, it pushes your push rod up and down, which in turn rocks your rocker, opening and closing your valves. Now, the thing that I'm going to have to do with these while I'm taking them out is setting them up in a way that I know which cam lobe they came off of. The reason you need to do that is because with used parts, if you're going to reuse the old parts, you need to put them back where they came out of. And that's because they've been mated to each other. And if you swap them, you're going to end up causing extra wear on your parts. So if you swap a lifter from intake cylinder 1 and you put it on exhaust cylinder 6, you're going to round out your cam lobe. So what I'm going to do is I have my other parts, my rockers and my push rods set up in order on my bench, and I'm just going to put these in order with those. Now I don't have to do this because my rebuild kit does come with a new camshaft and it should come with new lifters. I've never really heard of a cam kit that doesn't come with new lifters. So I should have new parts for this, but I'm going to keep them in order just in case the worst happens and I have to reuse these old parts. So that's what I got to do with that. Now, another thing is my engine was burning a crap ton of oil. I mean, here, let me show you. Okay, so as you can see, all of this black, burnt, char-looking stuff, this is oil. And I don't really know how it got in here. I'm wondering if it got in through a valve or if the rings aren't doing their job and so oil's coming up and in. But in any case, there's a lot of oil getting in here and it's burnt to the pistons. So I'm hoping that with my rebuild kit, which does come with some new valve stem, I guess they'd be O-rings, and also new pistons and new rings, that this problem will go away. So yeah, bad deal. If you see rust in here, disregard that. See, it just wipes right off. It's just surface rust from when I was washing the engine off. But and when I'm talking about keeping everything kind of in order, this is what I'm talking about. So this fan, I mean, I didn't set it up this way, but it works out. This fan represents the front of the engine. This is cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And everything is in the order in which it came out of the engine. And I'm going to be doing the same with the lifters. I'll put them here. So this is kind of something you want to do. It's also really handy to have a box or, you know, some kind of piece of cardboard that you can write on and designate each part. So push rod, I guess that would be, oh hell. So push rod, I'm going to say exhaust, cylinder 1. And you write it out, and that way you actually have a written deal showing you where each of these parts go. These lifters and push rods I am going to have to reuse, so this was important to keep in order. So yeah, this is just a really simple way of doing it. You can get a lot more in depth with how you want to sort stuff out, but so all right, so that's what's going on now. These lifters are going to come out, and then I'm going to try to get this timing cover off. We have a few pullers here. I'm going to see if I can pull this main pulley. I bet you it's also a harmonic balancer deal. We need to get this off, and then we can get this timing cover off, get the timing chains out, and then we'll stop for the day. We'll have this down to a short block, which for this engine means pistons, crankshaft, and camshaft will still be in the block. On an engine with an overhead cam, a short block would just be your pistons and your crankshaft, since the cam is a part of your head. But yeah, so let's get to it. Okay, last one. Okay, so that is a lifter. All that is water mixed with oil, so it's kind of goopy and gnarly. But yeah, so if you didn't know what a lifter is, that is one. Now, when I'm talking about them being mated to each other, the cam and the lifter, I don't know if you can actually see, but there's a little bit of a concavity to this. These actually look really new, so you can't really see it. But the cam lobe will wear away at the lifter and create a concavity here that it rides in. And when the two mate to each other, they start matching each other perfectly. So that's what I was talking about when you want to put them back in the same place that you got them out, because it's basically a convex curve and a concave curve touching. So if you mess with their, kind of their surfaces, you're gonna wear one out faster than the other, and it's gonna be bad for you. So that's that. Alrighty, so now we're gonna move on to the timing cover. Like I said before, we're gonna get a puller. We're gonna unbolt this, get a puller, pull this off, and then we'll be able to get at the timing cover and the timing chains underneath it. So let's get to it. So I got the timing cover and the timing chain off of here. I ran into a couple little mishaps. One of them being that the crankshaft and camshaft are out of time from each other. I mean, they're in time with each other, but when I took it off, I have this piston, this number one piston here on the wrong stroke. I think what it should be is TDC on the compression stroke, TDC being top dead center. And what it actually is TDC on the exhaust stroke. And it's not a big deal, it's just that you have to remember that you have it off like that when you put the new timing chain and gears on there. I don't think that that matters though, just because I'm going to be taking the camshaft and the crankshaft out anyway. And when you put it back together, you're going to have to reset all that. So I think that that's not a big issue. What is kind of a big issue is I broke one of these studs off. I don't know if you can see this here. I'm kind of pointing right at it. But there were two of these. This one broke, and I'm going to replace this one anyways, just because if this one broke, this one will. And I think that this was just rusty and old and brittle because usually what you would see with a brake where you twisted it off is kind of a spiral pattern on the breaking point, as well as some kind of a grayish color. There would be discoloration in a spiral where it broke. So I think that this was just old and brittle and it snapped. So that was just, those were the only issues I had with taking this thing off. All I have to do now is scrape the gasket off, and this will be good to go. I'm not going to be working on this anymore today, just because it's late and it's cold and I don't really feel like doing it. But tomorrow the idea will be to remove the pistons and the crankshaft and camshaft. So to do that, I'm going to come in, flip the engine over upside down, and we'll push the pistons out and take the crank out, and then we'll figure out how this camshaft comes out of here. But before I do that, I think that I'm going to have to remove this oil pickup here and the oil pump, because those are probably in the way. I haven't looked under there yet, but they're probably in the way. And they need to come out anyways. Because that's another thing that comes in my rebuild kit. An oil pump. Cool, right? So, alright. That's what we're doing today. So, we'll catch you tomorrow.